In Venezuela, Attorney General William Saab denied the existence of arrest warrants against opposition leaders Maria Corina Machado and former presidential candidate Edmundo González Urrutia. Asian and European markets plummeted on fears of a recession in the United States. In Bangladesh, amid protests, Prime Minister Sheik Hasina resigns from office and left the country. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Attorney General of Venezuela, William Saab, denied on Sunday that there were arrest warrants against opposition leader Maria Corina Machado and former presidential candidate Edmundo González Urrutia. During an interview to a Colombian news outlet, William Saab asked to see the alleged arrest warrants issued by his office. The leader Machado had assured through her social media that she would go underground, although 48 hours later she abandoned the strategy and participated in a protest. The prosecutor did reiterate that the acts of terrorism would not go unpunished, referring to, for example, the two Chavistas leaders who were assassinated in less than 48 hours, one of them 65 years old. Saab insisted on the need to cease the acts of violence in the country. In Venezuela, the re-elected President Nicolás Maduro, in the framework of the 87th anniversary of the Bolivarian National Guard, denounced that the country is facing a coup d'etat that he described as cyber-fascist, while urged the cohesion of the civic military union against the coup attempts of the far right. Let's see the details.
During the ceremony in the vicinity of the Bolivarian Military Academy, the president emphasized that despite the coup actions of the global ultra-right, the National Guard has been an example of loyalty and honor to his oath in defense of peace.
We are precisely at the moment when we are facing in the streets of Venezuela a cyber-fascist criminal coup d'etat. I have no doubts, Mr. General, in describing it as such. Generals, admirals, professional personnel present at this magnificent event. Family members of the personnel who today are promoted to the next higher rank. An imperialism coup d'etat, an imperialist ambush that has fascist characteristics, full of hate, revenge, persecution against institutions. How much hatred has been poured against the Bolivarian National Guard, and what an exemplary conduct the Guard has shown to go out to protect and defend these people and their right to peace. I congratulate you with my heart as Commander-in-Chief. I congratulate our Bolivarian National Guard for the example it's showing.
Con mi corazón de comandante en jefe, felicito a nuestra Guardia Nacional Bolivariana por el ejemplo que está dando.
The Venezuelan head of state also denounced the plans of the Venezuelan ultra-right wing to dismantle and weaken the national armed forces in order to hand them over to the United States.
La derecha fascista de los apellidos tiene como plan central con el imperialismo.
The fascist right wing of the surnames has a central plan with imperialism to disarticulate, demobilize, divide and finish the Bolivarian armed force. They only dare to talk about the elimination of the Bolivarian National Militia. If we come to power, they say, the first decree is to eliminate the Bolivarian National Militia, that is the people in arms. A constitutional obligation to defense of the homeland by all the people. And also contained in the organic constituent law of the Bolivarian National Armed Force, approved by the very sovereign Constituent National Assembly of 2017, was what they announced in English in a program made by the fascists and published in New York. That the eminent Venezuelan intellectual thinker Luis Brito Garcia denounced and immediately the accounts of Facebook, Instagram and other social networks that published the interview censored it. The Goliath of the North, that's why I speak of cyber coup. In this case, a criminal cyber fascist coup d'etat.
El Goliat del norte. Por eso es que yo hablo de golpe cibernético. En este caso, un golpe de Estado ciberfascista criminal.
In this context, the re-elected president, Nicolas Maduro, expressed his repudiation of the recent declarations of the European Union, which whitewashed the violence of the extreme right against the Venezuelan people.
No se ha conocido estos testimonios y se sigue repitiendo y la Unión Europea otra vez saca.
These testimonies have not been known and continue to be repeated, and the European Union once again pulls out his chant. The same European Union that recognized Guaidó, shame of the European Union. Mr. Borrell is a disgrace. He is a disgrace. He is a disgrace who led Ukraine to war and now washes his hands of it. Who is silent before the massacre in Gaza and the genocide? Who recognized Guaidó in a shameful way and pretends to be crazy? Then now he says that in Venezuela there is a repression of peaceful demonstrations, says Ms. Borrell. Pacific. When they attack the population, when they attack hospitals, schools, bus units, subway stations. Peaceful. When they capture a policewoman in her place of work, assault her, try to kill her.
Pacífica cuando capturan a una policía en su lugar de trabajo, la asaltan, intentan matarla.
On the other hand, the national executive also condemned the plan of the United States to establish hatred and division among the Venezuelan people through the social network TikTok and Instagram.
Estamos enfrentando, derrotando, conteniendo y pulverizando.
We are facing, defeating, stopping and pulverizing a coup d'etat in Venezuela, which is the first criminal cyber-fascist coup d'etat that is being rehearsed precisely against Venezuela. Nobody should be fooled in this world. We are already grown up. We are already quite grown up. Nobody in the world should be fooled. It is a coup d'etat. They used the electoral process to mount their groups to install hatred through TikTok and Instagram. I accuse TikTok and Instagram of their responsibility in the installation of hatred to divide Venezuelans, to seek a massacre and a division of Venezuela, to bring fascism to Venezuela, a cyber-fascist and criminal coup d'etat.
De Venezuela, para traer el fascismo a Venezuela. Golpe de Estado ciberfascista y criminal.
In this regard, the Venezuelan president highlighted the Venezuelan struggle as a battle for Latin America, the Caribbean, and the world.
En Venezuela estamos dando una batalla por América Latina, el Caribe y por el mundo.
In Venezuela, we are fighting a battle for Latin America, the Caribbean, and the world. Or Venezuela falls into the hands of criminal fascism and Elon Musk of the Milei, or Venezuela triumphs by the paths of the Constitution, humanism, Christianity, Bolivarism, socialism of the 21st century, Chavismo. Let each one define himself. Fascism or Bolivarism, slaves or free, criminal violence or constitutional peace. Let each one define himself.
Violencia criminal o paz constitucional. Que cada quien se defina.
Finally, the Venezuelan head of state decorated 15 soldiers injured during the recent riots and called on the people to exalt peace in the face of attempts by the global ultra-right to generate violence in Venezuelan territory.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Chile's metropolitan region, over 300,000 households do not have power. Electric company reported it would not be able to re-establish supply before Wednesday. Thousands took to the streets to protest against this situation that comes amid winter weather conditions. Protesters denounced a private company, NLSA, for its inability to manage the energy service in the country. security forces repressed the protests. For this reason, the community leaders will file a lawsuit against the power company. China is on alert for a heat wave with temperatures of up to 40 degrees Celsius in several regions, while other areas register rain and flood disasters. According to the National Meteorological Observatory, 17 areas in the north and south of the country experienced temperatures of more than 35 degrees Celsius. The Weather Observatory urged local authorities to take preventive measures against heat stroke and wildfires. Search and rescue efforts are still underway as local authorities report the collapse of 1,641 houses and 1,345 road collapses due to heavy rains, as well as the death of at least 30 people and dozens of people missing. In the United Kingdom, thousands took to the streets led by extreme right-wing groups seeing violent protests against migrants in different parts of the country. The xenophobic mobilization against migrants has provoked clashes between demonstrators against the security agencies of the territory and various anti-racist groups. In this regard, the participants of the protest tried to set fire to a hotel that housed asylum seekers. During the riot, several people were injured and numerous people were arrested. These demonstrations broke out in London after the dissemination of manipulated information on social networks, claiming that the suspect in the murder of three girls in the city of Southport in the northwest of the country was a radical Muslim immigrant.
So far, we have had 6 arrests, 1 in Sheffield and 5 in Rotherham, with 1 person already charged and before the court this morning. Please be assured, we expect this number to increase significantly over the coming days. Officers have worked through the night to begin identifying those involved in these horrendous scenes. Please be assured, if you were there, we will find you, and you will be held accountable for your part in yesterday's violence.
In this context, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the wave of riots and violent protests by groups identified with the far right.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online.
Asian and European markets plummeted on fears of a recession in the United States. Japan's Nikkei index and the Spanish stock market index, the IBEX 35, are some of the markets that opened on Monday with their worst records since 1987, as in the case of Japanese market. The weak employment data published on Friday by the United States, in addition to a series of worse-than-expected corporate results for technology companies, caused a generalized sell-off in the stock markets as confidence in the economy fell. The markets now project by more than 70% the possibility that the United States General Reserve will lower rates by 50 basis points. Goldman Sachs experts estimate a 12-month recession of 25%. We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Bangladesh, thousands stormed Prime Minister Sheik Hasina's residence as she fled the country following massive protests. This was confirmed by national agencies. The country had been partially cut off from communication after internet services were down. A day after the deadliest day since the beginning of the student protest, with 93 dead and more than 1,000 wounded officially registered in clashes throughout the country, protesters rejected a labor law full of privileges for a minority. They said the objective of the protest as the resignation of the Prime Minister, and they have a few of their objectives.
You know that the country is going through a difficult time. I invited the leaders of all political parties except for the ruling Awami League. They have come here. We had a beautiful discussion. We decided to form an interim government, and the interim government will administer all the country's activities. I give you my word that all the injustices will be addressed. Keep your faith in the army.
In Palestine, the Gaza Civil Defense Agency reported that at least 30 people were killed in the attack on the Hassan Salameh and Al-Nasser schools, which house Palestinians displaced from their homes. Gaza Civil Defense Agency reported that an Israeli strike hit 2 schools in Gaza City on Sunday, killing at least 30 people. Rescuers and residents carried bodies and searched for survivors on the rubble, while Mahmoud Basal, civil defense spokesman, declared that most of the dead and wounded were women and children. Israel's genocide operation has killed at least 39,583 people so far, according to the health ministry.
What happened was that we were sitting safely. Suddenly, a missile fell here, and another missile fell on a school next door. The 2 schools were housing displaced civilians and children. We have been retrieving the remains of children for the past hour. This is so unfair. How long will we remain like this? We are tired enough.
G7 countries have been informed by the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken about an alleged attack by Iran and Hezbollah against Israel. They assured that the operations could start on Monday. The head of the U.S. diplomacy convened the conference call to coordinate with its close allies the diplomatic pressure so that the attack be minimized through dialogue and negotiations. Western leaders are trying to install the narrative that limiting the impact of their attacks is the only way to avoid a war. The leaders of Iran and Lebanon have vowed to respond to the assassination of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh by the Zionist army in Tehran and that of Hezbollah military commander Fuad Shukr in Beirut. In Iran, the acting Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Bagheri Ghani held a meeting with his Jordanian counterpart Ayman al-Safadi in Tehran with the aim of discussing regional tensions. The foreign minister discussed recent increases in tensions in the region as well as bilateral relations. In addition, the 2 foreign affairs ministers plan to meet and exchange views with other Iranian officials on local and international issues. It's noteworthy that the visit of the Jordanian Foreign Affairs Minister Ayman al-Safadi came a day after he held 2 phone calls with his Iranian and Egyptian counterparts on the aftermath of the assassination of the political leader of the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, by the Israeli regime. For his part, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani highlighted Iran does not seek to escalate tensions but to consolidate stability.
Iran does not seek to escalate tensions in the region. If Iran talks about its right to punish the aggressor, this is an action to help consolidate security and stability in the region. We believe the consolidation of stability and security in the region will be achieved by punishing the aggressor and creating a deterrent against the adventurous behavior and extraterritorial terrors of the Zionist regime.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.